Most vampires spend their immortality spoiling themselves and living lavishly. Instead, you've been working the night shift at a Waffle House for 70 plus years with no intention of leaving. One of your coworkers asks why. But why? Todd asked incredulously. Why what? Jenny, well, Genevieve, to be precise, replied. Todd was staring at her dumbfoundedly. Why would you spend eternity here? Doing the night shift in a Waffle House for decades? I mean, isn't that a waste? Jenny sighed and leaned back in her chair. While she was glad Todd wasn't panicking about all this, she wasn't quite sure what to do with this line of questioning. Yes, she was relieved that him walking in on her downing her third bag of ab in the toilet hasn't gone worse, but she almost wished for the terrified screams and accusations of devilry. She was used to dealing with those, not this sudden need for existential introspection. Todd, how old do you think I am? Todd blinked. I dunno, 100 years? Jenny smiled sarcastically. Why, thank you. No, I'm much older than that. I'll be 725 next September. I'm the third oldest vampire that I know of. Wow, that's a long time, Todd stammered, trying to process this information. Have you worked at the Waffle House all that time? He blurted out. Of course not. Jenny couldn't help but giggle. For one thing, the Waffle House hasn't been around anywhere near that long. But I have spent most of that time working in similar establishments. But I still don't get it. Why? Aren't you supposed to be this fancy queen of the night or something? Todd insisted, unwilling to let the matter go. Jenny closed her eyes for a second, pausing before replying. Well, for one thing, keeping a low profile is often a good idea for my kind. But it's not just that. Todd nodded slightly, as Jenny continued. Remember how I said I'm the third oldest vampire I know of? Well, second place lives in a decrepit castle in some Central Asian wasteland, gibbering to himself incoherently while his servants scramble to chase down the local shepherds or the occasional mislaid tourist. Jenny stood up, and started slowly pacing the room, and the oldest one lies awake but immobile in a dank stone crypt somewhere in the desert south of Tunis. Nobody is even sure why he's like that, but he hasn't moved in 2 centuries. She stood still and looked out the window. The first instinct we have is to live grand, dramatic unlives. Be it the pursuit of pleasure, power, knowledge or something else. But around the 200-year mark, most of us start to lose the plot. We get too wrapped up in it all, and either get killed, or end up as a barely alive mental wreck. Sitting back down, she smiled gently at Todd, who was silently hanging on her every word. You see, I've found that down the long centuries, the most important resource is sanity. Keeping one's mind grounded. I became what I am willingly, because I wanted to see more of life. And I can't do that if I'm trapped forever in a broken, undying wreck of a mind. Jenny reached over to her last blood bag and stuck a straw in it, leaning back. So I work at the Waffle House, I do my night shift, and I get to stay me. She finished, sipping her ab nonchalantly.